Ladies and gentlemen, my name is Joe Bush. I'm a teacher at Elk Grove High School, and I've been speaking with the Illinois Human Performance Project for the last couple of years. I want to thank you once again for inviting me back to a very different conference, but a good conference nonetheless, as I know the organization always puts out wonderful information and is always willing to help you guys learn how to lead and you learn how to grow. And I'm just really ecstatic to be part of this program once again. Today I'm going to talk about the topic of normal. I've heard so much in the last couple months, people saying, I just want the world to get back to normal. We just need things to go back to normal. And I want to challenge that belief. And I want to challenge that belief because I'm not sure that normal was as good as it could have been. See, I think a new normal can be better. In fact, I'm not really a fan of normal. Normal is kind of boring. Normal never really inspires. It's when we do things that aren't normal that we grow. When we step outside of our comfort zone, that we start to see good things happening. Normal oftentimes doesn't work. I have two sons right now, they're 10 and 7. And by no stretch of the imagination are they normal. In fact, when my son Danny was 3 years old, I watched him walk into his bedroom, and it was carpeted, and he had a little bottle of water there. And he started squirting the bottle of water onto the carpet. I walked in, I said, Danny, what are you doing? He said, well, I'm putting water on the carpet because that way if any witches come in here, if they touch the water, they're obviously going to melt. I said, good point. I left the room. What an idea, putting water on the carpet in case witches come in. I mean, it was humorous, it was thought-provoking, and to a 3-year-old, it made complete sense. But it wasn't at all normal. Last year, I was with my youngest son. I took him to a water park in North Carolina. And we were waiting to go on this awesome water slide called the Howling Tornado. And each time you went on the Howling Tornado, the walk up was probably 6 flights of stairs. And you had to wait about 10 minutes. And we walked up and we were waiting and we were chit-chatting. And then there was a little bit of silence. And after a minute or two's silence, my son Michael turned to me and said, Dad, ever since I learned how paper clips work, I've been obsessed. Again, that's not a normal thought. I mean, how does a thought like that pop into a kid's mind? He's waiting to go on a water slide. He's 750 miles from home, and all he's thinking about is paper clips. See, the best part about having kids is that you get to watch them grow. You get to watch them learn. You get to watch them explore. Over Memorial Day weekend, we went over to some friend's house and we had a little social distancing party. We didn't go inside. The kids just played outside. It was a beautiful day. And we just watched them ride their bikes and take their scooters up and down the sidewalk, and they had a blast. When they got bored with that, we walked over. There's a little pond around the corner, and next to the pond is a stream. And the stream is probably maybe like a quarter mile long. And one of the kids, I can't remember who it was, said, hey, can we just walk in the stream? I mean, it's probably about 6 inches deep. We said, yeah, absolutely. And so for a quarter mile, while the parents were walking right next to it, they laughed, they played, they splashed. I watched them connect with one another, which was amazing. You see, in this time of COVID-19, normal is to be scared. Normal is to be distant. Normal is to be remote. But kids know better. Kids want a different kind of normal. There's been a recent Gallup poll about work satisfaction among adults. And it's been said that 70% of all people dislike their job. 70%. So what that means is if you're at a school with 200 teachers, there's a good chance that 140 of them are not happy. I don't know, I can't get over that statistic. 70% of people are unhappy. And yet we just want to get back to normal. We just want to get back to the status quo. But the status quo wasn't satisfying. I mean, I'm so blessed that I love my job, that I get to work with great kids, that I get to come out here and talk to all of you. That's great. I'm happy to be part of the 30% that really likes their jobs. And when you start thinking about your own future, and you start thinking about getting a job and locking in at age 25 and working to 65. That's 40 years. Are you going to have a normal, boring, unsatisfying job? Or are you going to do something that's great? Because when you're 65 years old, you don't want to sit around and think about the opportunities that you missed, the chances that you didn't take, and all those moments that you have that might be forgotten. I want to challenge you to a new normal. A new normal where, I don't know, maybe you wonder about paper clips. Maybe you talk and walk while you're walking in a creek. Or maybe you spread a little water on the ground because you're afraid that the witches might take you away. Take a cue from the younger kids. They're not scared. They're not afraid. They don't want to get back to just normal. So today's idea is going to be about this new normal. The new normal is going to be better. It's going to be you leading your life instead of just following other people. I want to build a world where 70% of people don't dislike their jobs. I want to inspire the world through their thoughts, their feelings, their actions. And I want you to lead a legacy because it's all going to start with you. So I want you to turn to someone if you're next to them or just yell out loud, I want a new normal. Go ahead and say it. I want a new normal. I want a new normal. So what is this normal going to be? Well, I'm going to ask you to do 6 things. Number 1 is notice. 2 is opportunities. 3 is reflection. 4 is motivation. 5 is accountability. And 6 is leadership. If you take the first letter from each one of those words, you'll see that it spells out normal. But this is going to be a new normal. A normal of an inspired life. A normal where leaders just like you are going to go out and lead yourself and lead others and make a huge difference in the world. We're going to forget about the normal that was 2, 3, 4 months ago. This is a new normal, an inspired normal, and we can make that happen. You've got all the tools and resources available to you. The Human Performance Project keeps putting out great stuff year after year after year. Use it, connect, get together, make a difference. So how do we make a difference? Well, the number one thing we need to do, the first thing we need to do is we need to notice. In our new normal, we need to notice. I've been watching Catholic Mass on YouTube. The priest at my church has been putting it on every Sunday. And after a couple of weeks of watching it, he mentioned that there's some people in the church who aren't able to go out and get their groceries. We have an elderly population in the church. And so he just put it out on YouTube and said, if there's anyone that's willing to help, we need people that will go out and will grocery shop for others. And so I sent a message out to the priest and I said, I'm willing to help. And he connected me with a woman named Mary. And Mary is 90 years old and she's afraid to leave her little apartment and she's afraid to go to the grocery store. And so I got on the phone with Mary and we connected and she said, can you please shop for me? And I said, absolutely. And so I went over and I got the list and I went to the store. And right away I noticed some things that were different. Mary and I shop for different things. She really likes pudding. She really likes Jell-O. I don't like it at all. She likes bananas, but not the organic ones because those are a little bit too expensive. And she got 1 can of tomato soup. And I thought that was so odd because for years I've been buying at Costco and Sam's Club and I've been buying in bulk. And I'm thinking, why not get 10 cans of tomato soup? Then you don't have to come back to the store. She had given me a little envelope with some money. And when I opened the envelope, in addition to some cash, was a link card. And if you don't know what a link card is like food stamps, and it pays for the food for people that can't otherwise afford it. And at that moment, I had this sort of revelation. I noticed something different. Here it was, a woman living in my town, just about a half a mile away, who couldn't afford all the groceries that she wanted. She was stuck in her apartment for months. She was scared, and she just needed someone to help. And when I got back with her groceries, she tried to hand me a $5 bill for a tip. I said, Mary, I don't need a tip. I'm happy to do it. And so instead she gave me a loaf of bread and she said, it's the Italian in me that says I can't let you leave here empty-handed. You did something really great for me. And she asked if I would come back. And I went back in the coming weeks, and there's been another couple of people who've been added to the list. And I'm so happy to help. And I think those of you who serve, you realize that the true benefit, we get the true benefit by serving others. Sure, we're helping other people, but really, we're benefiting ourselves and we're leading. But the most important thing in this new normal is I began to notice. When I drive by that apartment complex, I start thinking differently. I start wondering about the other people in our town who maybe can't afford groceries or can't go to the store. And it makes me think that in a new normal, we need to notice these things and we need to go out and help. I challenge you going forward to go out and notice things, because noticing is going to be a part of the new normal. The second letter in normal is opportunity. Wednesday, March 11th was supposed to be picture day for the Elk Grove High School girls soccer program. I wore my coach's polo that day. The girls curled their hair and proudly wore their uniforms to school. We had been together at that point as a team, for 9 days. And then an announcement came over during lunch saying that all after-school activities would be canceled. They would be canceled until April 1st, after spring break. And athletics, in the time being, was canceled. And in that moment, I think we thought all right, this is going to be a short thing. This coronavirus is going to fade away. And just like that, picture day was canceled. And it wasn't a huge deal. But then in the coming days, schools began to close. Seasons began to end. And there was a huge fear of this pandemic setting on America on a treacherous path. Having a degree in history, I thought back to how we as a country have overcome challenges. You see, everything that happens in life, there are challenges and there are opportunities. I thought back to my first month of teaching. It was 2001. And within 3 weeks of me being a teacher, 9/11 happened. It was like nothing I had ever seen before. And it was a huge challenge for us as a country. But out of that challenge came opportunity. I remember being scared. I remember just thinking, what's going to happen to the world? I remember just wanting to hold the people around me close. And I could think about how, at that time, my girlfriend, the most beautiful woman in the world, I would never been so sure about wanting to be with her. And 4 days after 9/11, we got engaged. See, when you think back in the history of America, you think back to World War II, there was a challenge, but we had opportunities to grow victory gardens. During the collapse of 2008, there were challenges, but we saw new things come out. Companies like Venmo and Uber. This crisis, although a challenge, is going to lead us to some really, really good opportunities. My first suggestion is just the opportunity of time. I got to see my children more than I'll ever get to see them in their entire life. I got the opportunity of time. I got the opportunity to exercise more. I got the opportunity to just go outside and be, to not worry about having to pick my son up and then take him to religious ed class and then bring the other one to gymnastics and run around. That was the normal of the past. But in this new normal, I got to look around and sort of just breathe easy. As a matter of fact, my schedule worked such that this year I wasn't going to be able to drive down to Illinois Wesleyan to speak at this conference. But because of the challenge of what happened, I had the opportunity, because I can record this and we can play it on the day that you guys are going to be there. So what opportunities are you going to take from this time? See, even in the next couple months, you should have more time than you're ever going to have before. So, I mean, think about it. If you ever wanted to learn to play the guitar, go buy yourself a cheap guitar, take some lessons on YouTube, and get going. Learn a new language. Start brushing up on your Spanish, your French, whatever else you want to speak. Maybe start journaling. Maybe start writing. Maybe you've always wanted to write a book. Well, now's a beautiful time to do it. Just do it every single day. There's a quote out there that says, if you want something you've never had before, you've got to do something you've never done before. So what are you going to do different? How are you going to build yourself up and be prepared when the world gets back in order and you want this new normal? So let's recap. N stands for notice. O stands for opportunity. The third part of the new normal needs to be filled with reflection. Reflection matters. For the record, in the past, I've had some really sort of strange tendencies. I used to track the number of minutes I exercised, how many books I read in a month, the number of times I went to church, how much sugar I ate, minutes of a podcast I listened to. I could go on and on about all the things I used to track in my life, but you get the picture that there's probably some OCD in my life, and I'm comfortable with it. I'm all good. But what I learned during this pandemic is that sometimes things begin to spin out of control. And there's things that we can't fix. Sometimes your soccer season just gets canceled. I thought we were going to have a really great team this year, and I'll never have the opportunity. Sometimes you're told to wear masks when you go to grocery stores. And sometimes there's not enough flour or butter because apparently everyone in the United States decides that they want to bake. See, I love control. I love tracking things. I love just feeling like everything in my life is because of me. But what I realize in this pandemic is so many things are out of control. And this is really where reflection comes in. This is where reflection matters. As the world began to spin out of control, I started to reflect on what I really needed. I mean, I have a wonderful place to live. I have 2 outstanding children. I have a beautiful wife. We have food on the table. I have a job that I love. And what this new normal, this pandemic normal, taught me was to be grateful, to think about the things I have instead of just thinking about the things that I don't have. Reflection allows me to experience gratitude. See, my new normal, whenever that starts, is going to be filled with reflection and filled with gratitude. Because I've had time to sit back and think about what I want from life and what I'm grateful for. And I don't know if I would have had that same time if the world kept spinning at the pace that it was. So, we can step back right now and we can think about what we want from life. Leadership expert John Maxwell always says that experience isn't the best teacher. Evaluated experience is. Experience is not the best teacher. Evaluated experiences. And so it's not until we step back and we reflect and we think about what we want from life, we think about the good and the bad and make changes. That's how we really grow as leaders. So we've got notice, we've got opportunities, we've got reflection. Our next part of the new normal is going to be motivation. And I want you to say the following phrase with me. Emotion is created by motion. Emotion is created by motion. When you're laying around all day eating the wrong foods, how do you feel? Unmotivated. I hear people say, well, you know what, I'll get motivated in a couple minutes. It doesn't work like that. You got to move. You got to put the right foods in your body. You've just had probably a couple sessions about the health, the human performance part of this. And really the only way to get motivated is to go out and start doing things. Before I wrote this speech, I felt it was really, really important to go and just take a walk and clear my head and just move and get the blood pumping. And once I did, it was so easy to sit down and do that. Now, it's really difficult to stay motivated all the time. You can't just be doing jumping jacks and running around all the time to get motivated. But that's the spark. And so if you want to get motivated, the first thing you need to do is you need to move. Get up, put away the bad food, turn off the Netflix, and just start moving. Now that's the thing that gets the ball rolling. That's the motivation. Now, how do you stay there? Well, the next part in motivation is to determine something in your life that gives you energy. So is it writing? Is it connecting with people? Is it leading? Is it building? Is it driving? Is there something there? Is there something there that just lights a fire under you? As a teacher, I know that I have some really good days, and I know I have some not so good days. But in those good days, when I'm doing something that I love, when I've prepared a really good lesson, and we're lecturing, and we're connecting, and the kids are asking questions, I just get filled with so much energy. I can just tell in those moments, like, I'm on fire, and the kids are engaged, and the room has all this energy, and there's just this buzz about it, and it's amazing. And all of you have that. Maybe it's playing a sport. Maybe it's just being with your family. There are things that you do that energize you. My dad used to say when I was a kid, if you love what you do, you'll never work a day in your life. If you love what you do, you'll never work a day in your life. And I feel that even as I'm recording this speech, this isn't work. I love this. I could do this all day. When I'm teaching my classes and we're really connecting, I love it. When I'm coaching soccer, I love it. I don't want to be one of those people, one of the 70% that's really dissatisfied with their job. You'll see this new normal, when we come out of this, has to be filled with motivation. And the only way to stay motivated is to do things that give us energy. And when we do things that give us energy, we're going to find that passion. We're going to find that purpose. When we serve others, we get that motivation, we get that energy. I just get more energized talking about it right now. I want you to say the following phrase with me. I just want to see how you feel. I am motivated. I am driven. I am here to serve. I am motivated. I am driven. I am here to serve. And I want you to say, I want a new normal. I want a new normal, right? You start to feel good. You get energy. Hopefully you feel motivated. Hopefully you don't have to worry about the things of the past dictating your future. See, we all have an opportunity. We can notice things. We can see the opportunities. We can reflect, and we can stay motivated. The next part is accountability. The new normal has to be filled with accountability. We've seen a lot of different leaders across the country, across the world, respond to this coronavirus. Some are very good, some are very bad. But I think the best leaders are the ones that are accountable to themselves and accountable to others. In societies today, it seems like we want to microwave our leaders. And you can't do that. You can't just all of a sudden say, like, boom, you're a leader. No, it takes time. It takes learning. It takes mistakes. It takes reflecting on those mistakes. That's how we gain this level of accountability. I can remember my first real lesson in accountability. I was in 7th grade, and I was in Mrs. Nessick's math class. And Mrs. Nessick was the best teacher that I've ever had. And part of the reason she was the best was because she held us all accountable. She held us to a higher standard. And every week we would take a test, and you'd get the test back on Monday, and you'd have 3 days to do test correction. So all the things you got wrong, you had to make right. And Mrs. Nessick would stay after school every single day and answer any question. And she'd be after school from 2:30 to 3:15. 45 minutes every day, never missed. And so if you had a question on your test corrections, you could bring it up to her and she'd help you and she'd get it right. But the rule was that you had 3 days to get the test corrections done. And they had to be graded by 3:15 on that third day. So for whatever reason, I got like 8 questions wrong in a test, and I didn't do the test corrections right away. I don't know why, but I let it sit. And finally, it was the third day, and I was like, oh my goodness, I have to do these test corrections. And I didn't tell my parents I had to stay after school to get this done. And I didn't have a quarter. Back then, you had to use payphones. So I ran home as fast as I could in 10 minutes. And I was like, Mom, I have to go back to school, and I have to do the test corrections. And she drove me back. And I sat down, Mrs. Nessick, and I did the test corrections. And I turned them in at 3 o'clock. And I was like, phew, I'm done. And about 3:03, she calls me back up at the desk, and she says, oh, well, you got 4 of these right, but there's still 4 wrong. And she handed me them back, and I had to go back. And then I furiously finished the last 4 questions, and I put it on her desk, and she said, thank you. And I said, so am I good now? And she says, no, it's 3:15, and I'm not going to grade it. These are late, and tomorrow you have a detention. I'll see you then. And I was like, what? Like, I ran all the way home. I came back. I did the test corrections. I put them on your desk, and you're not going to help me out in this situation? And I walked home, and I was so angry. I couldn't believe that this woman was going to give me the detention. And I remember going home and complaining to my mom about it. And that was like the worst thing to do, because my mom was 100% support of the teachers. So not only did I have a detention and hear it from my math teacher, now I had to hear it from my mom. But what she said to me is, how long did you have to get the test corrections done? I said 3 days. She said, how long did you wait? I said, till the last minute. She said, is that the teacher's fault or your fault? I said, it's my fault. And in that moment, I totally understood what accountability meant. I'm responsible for the majority of things in my life. And if I let other people or other circumstances try to control me, well, then I'm always going to be controlled by that. I've got to figure out a way to lead my life, to be accountable, to make sure that I'm doing the things that give me energy, that bring me passion, that bring me purpose, that I'm willing to go out and serve. You know, I was 100% accountable to Mary when I got her grocery list and went to the store. And it was frustrating going up and down the aisles of Jewel sometimes because I didn't know where everything was. But as I've done it a couple more times, I really enjoy it. And I know that I'm doing something for someone who can't do it themselves. The new normal has to be filled with accountability. The last part, and this is an easy one, is going to be about leadership. And I could talk all day about different theories of leadership, but I've just got this one quote, which I really, really, really like. And it says this: a society grows great when old men plant trees whose shade they know they will never sit in. What kind of trees are you willing to plant? What kind of legacy are you willing to lead? Let me ask you this question. If you were put on trial for being a leader, would you be found guilty? If you were put on trial for being a leader, would you be convicted? Or would you be found innocent? See, I hope everyone that's watching this would be convicted of being a leader. I hope you're willing to lead. I hope you're willing to serve. I hope you're willing to do things for other people that they can't do themselves. See, leadership isn't about being out front with 1 million people behind them. Leadership is about turning around and leaning over and picking someone else up, picking them up when they can't pick themselves up. See, the most important thing you can do on this journey is develop yourself as a leader. Develop a vision for yourself. Develop a vision for your school or your group. Learn about yourself. Learn about others. Learn to connect. But most importantly, you've got to be willing to serve. And once you start serving, that's really when you start growing as a leader. See, over the last couple days, in all these different sessions, you learned ways to lead a legacy for yourself and in your school. See, the whole premise of this conference is to give you a whole bunch of ideas, and you can sit and you can reflect on them, and you can connect with other people, and you can build something great at your school. I mean, the Illinois Human Performance Project has so many resources and so many great people who are willing to do anything to help your schools, to help yourself, because they believe that's important. You know, individual transformation will change the world. Individual transformation will change the world. And so once you begin to get transformed, other people see that and they're excited and they begin to get transformed. And then schools transform, states transform, and countries transform. And we now all of a sudden live in this new normal where we experience wonder and joy. And 70% of people don't hate their jobs any longer. I want to leave you with a couple of last thoughts. Number one is this: excuses keep us from expanding. Think about any time that you've faced a challenge. Do you back down or do you plow through it? Because every time you make an excuse, it keeps you from expanding. It keeps you from growing. The next time you get a challenge, the next time someone comes up to you and gives you something that seems impossible, I want you to ask yourself this question: where is the proof that you can't do it? Where is the proof that you can't do it? Because my guess is there is no proof. So why don't you go out and take those first steps and try to do it? See, right now, with all these resources, you've got the keys to the castle. It's just going to be up to you to make a decision. I want you to notice the world around you. I want you to seek opportunities for yourself and for others. I want you to reflect on the life you used to live and the life you're going to live going forward. I want you to stay motivated. Ask yourself what gives you energy and follow that course. I want you to be accountable. Don't pass the buck. Say, hey, I did it right or I did it wrong, and if I did it wrong, I'm going to fix it. And I want you to lead. Because the number one thing for kids your age, we spend so much time following others. We follow all these people on virtual platforms. But I want you to lead people in the real world. That's your new normal. That's who I want you to become going forward. I want to thank you for this opportunity. I hope you got something out of this. I think there's a Q&A session right after this, so if you have any questions whatsoever, fire them out, and have a wonderful summer, and we'll see you back here next year. Take care.